there's always someone who's stronger than you. I think it's an interesting topic and something to consider and something to talk about. There's always someone stronger than you. There's always someone bigger than you. There's always someone who's further ahead than you, and you see this at the absolute highest level of the sport. That just with different lifters, there's always someone who's better. Um, if you're a world champion, there's someone who's better, either currently or in another country, or who you don't know of, or who's younger or older, or in history, historically, there's someone better. And there's probably someone who's better pound for pound, or someone who's better that you've never heard of, Because of this, I think it's really important to keep in mind that lifting and powerlifting, it's about becoming the best that you can be, you individually, with your own strengths, your own weaknesses, and who you are as a person. And how you progress is going to be very different than how someone else progresses. And it is ultimately on who you end up becoming, who you end up being. And I think, especially in like a day and age of social media and stuff, it gets very easy to get caught up and distracted by who's doing what on social media. I try not to look too much at other lifters' lifts on Instagram because it's just not even demotivating, but it's kind of distracting because they're either better than you or they're worse than you. So that makes you think that you're ahead or you're behind, you're good or you're bad. But any of those thoughts are counterproductive. What would be better would be just focusing on your own work, on what you're doing, on your game plan. Are you following your programming? Are you going to bed on time? Are you getting your meals in? And are you being consistent with everything and disciplined with everything? You can kind of focus on all those things and not focus on the things um, that are outside of your control or that are counterproductive or that have nothing to do with your success or with getting you anywhere. If you're looking at other lifters, other than studying their form or something, if you're just looking at seeing what lifts they're hitting, it doesn't serve any outside purpose, really, I think. And it doesn't help much to look at other lifters' lifts. Something that I tell some friends, and I've told my clients this a lot, is, and I've told myself this a lot too, is that what if you lived like in a country town or somewhere where there's no technology and you just had some weights and you just lifted and you just continued to lift and you had no way of knowing whether you're stronger than someone or weaker than someone, where you are in comparison to someone. And the only thing that you had, the only gauge, the only metric you had to compare with your own success or your own achievement or your own progress is just you and yourself and what you've done in the past and what you're doing in the future, and you just kept bettering yourself. What if you had no means of standards of what's possible or not, and what's a big lift or not, what's a small lift or not, and you just continue to progress? Then what would the ceiling be for progress? You would never really know, if and it would be then if you're like a pessimist or an optimist, or um, you kind of you can progress as much as you want. If no one told you that a 600 deadlift is hard to do, you would just go and do it. Maybe it would take a few years, but you would just keep adding weight on the bar. But now, because we live in a social media age, it's good and bad, and it's kind of hard to tell because um, now you can be influenced by all that. So you can see that, oh, this person did this and I haven't done that, or this person did this but I'm doing better than all these people. So you either get complacent and lazy because you feel like you're ahead, or if you feel like you're doing more than most people, or you get demotivated because everyone's ahead of you and you see those people. I think it's a stupid quote and I never understood it, is that they're like, oh, like, you're so strong, like that makes me want to just quit lifting. Like, you're like a freaking idiot. Why would you want to just quit lifting? I think if anything it should be motivating, but even then, motivating or not, it's like that's another person, that's not you. You can only do what you can do. And it's so simple. And I've heard Ed Cohn say that over and over again, that he's like, I could only lift what I could lift, and I was just focused on hitting the numbers that I could hit, being the best that I could be. And then doing that for 20 years made him end up being pretty good, made him end up being quote unquote the greatest lifter of all time, which again is not technically true because there are other lifters who are comparatively up there too, you know, female lifters, male lifters, um, different Russian lifters, lifters of history, and current lifters and future lifters. You know, no record they say is unbreakable, and people keep setting the standards higher. But I like that mindset of like, what if you didn't know that any of the records existed? What if it was just you and some weights, and you were just in an empty field or like an empty room, you know, or just somewhere where like no one else knows what that is, and it was just you and the weights. What would you do? Would you continue to progress? Would you continue to want to make progress and continue to go somewhere with your lifts? Maybe you would. um, I think it helps to not have uh, things that you have to look to, you know, to see that, oh, this person hit this or this person didn't hit this. So for the longest time I had no social media. Now I have an Instagram, and I'm starting to have social media, but it's only to reach like other people who are following me and who are watching my content, and giving value to my followers and subscribers. That's kind of it. It's not really for personal use, and I'm trying to stay away from it for the most part. um, I think that looking at other people's lifts helps sometimes, just to see that like it's possible and it can be done. But even then, you wouldn't need that notion or that thought of like, is it possible or not, if it were just you, and you can just kind of see and determine yourself through your own work that what's possible and what isn't, you know. I think that going on your own journey is really valuable. Making your own mistakes is really valuable, and having failure, having mistakes, and having to learn lessons from it is extremely valuable. And there's a really deep innate value to doing it yourself, and to not reading a ton of books, or like making your own mistakes, instead of trying to focus always on just avoiding mistakes and avoiding having things go wrong. What if you just kind of tried to progress a little bit by little bit, and you continued and saw where it went? So that's just my 2 cents on that topic. I think that it's important to not be on social media too much. I think it's important not to post too much on social media, and to post more because of um, kind of intrinsic value and intrinsic worth and fulfillment. Omar Isuf had like a really good video on that, I think like a year or more ago, on just lifting for deeper reasons, you know, internal peace, internal fulfillment, and internal personal growth, and not lifting for what outside lifters see or what they look at. If you look at any of the big lifters or the Russian lifters, or any of these guys, or the greatest of all time lifters, none of them really post like a lot of their lifting, or if it does, it's like fun lifting, but they're not like seriously posting all their lifting, where maybe many top lifters are, but the absolute best in the world aren't. Because when you get to that level, you see that, according to them, that the more important things come from fulfillment, from happiness, from having a balanced life, from having friends, having family, having relationships with other people. And lifting is like a small part of their life, and it's something that they do, but they don't got to post about it on social media. And their relationship, in my opinion, and what I try to cultivate in myself, is that the relationship with lifting is between you and the lifting, and that's kind of with yourself. And that's something that you could share with people once in a while, but for the most part you don't want to share it too much, because it distorts. And if you share too much on social media and stuff, it will distort what you do with it, and kind of what you post and what you don't post, if you're posting for likes or whatever. And takes that filter away. And also, again, you don't want to be on Instagram, be on social media too much, because you don't want to look at people's lifts too much, and think that you're further ahead or further behind or anything like that too much, and unconsciously compare yourself to them or not. It's better to just keep on your own path, keep doing your thing, and be in that lifting journey for the personal growth, the personal internal fulfillment and internal peace that you get. And doing it for kind of meaningful reasons like that. And be off Instagram and social media like a little more, because being on it too much, I think, is counterproductive and can hurt your lifting, and can either make you overconfident or demotivated, both of which are opposite extremes, but both of which are unhealthy and don't really help your lifting. So yeah, just my 2 cents on that topic. Yeah, that's what I think.